Jaguars.
Are you an experienced automotive technician and tired of working for employers who put profit over people? Then come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road and get trained on how to diagnose and rebuild today's complex transmissions. See how we're different. Get traction on your career or come to Action.
Equal opportunity employer.
Hacker here for the Sausage Dude Sausage, the sausage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Sausage Dude Sausage is made from high-quality pork and carefully sourced spices that make it the best sausage I've ever tried. You can pick up the Sausage Dudes at Publix locations all throughout Jacksonville. Try the Polish, Hungarian, beer bratwurst with cheddar and jalapeno, or my favorite, the Italian. 4th of July is right around the corner, so head to Publix today to get your hands on the Sausage Dude Sausage.
June is the start of hurricane season. Now is the perfect time to make sure your home is protected from those storms by scheduling a complimentary roof inspection with Universal Roof and Contracting. And right now, get 15% off your roofing project, plus flexible financing. This offer expires June 30th and restrictions apply. Universal Roof and Contracting, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CCC 1330747, CVC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com.
What? They did not tell me they were going to do that. I need a new bank.
Well, actually, One-to-One Financial doesn't do the usual bank surprises because we're not a bank. We're a credit union, and that means lower loan interest, things like free checking and member rewards, and of course, total investment back into our community.
I'm sold.
Find a better way to bank than big banks with One-to-One Financial, Jacksonville's hometown credit union. Visit 121fcu.org for more information on opening an account today.
Federally insured by NCUA.
Ever wonder what it's like to drive a real military tank? Check out TankAmerica.com for a badass tank driving experience. That's right, you can drive an actual tank through mud and crush cars. Sounds awesome, right? Visit TankAmerica.com.
WJXL AM and FM, Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL. 1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The views expressed are not necessarily those of 1010XL 92.5 FM. It's time for Pain-Free Living with Dr. Mitchell Yas and the Yas Method for Pain-Free Movement on 1010XL. Here's Matt Hayes.
Good Sunday morning to you, Jacksonville. Happy Father's Day. It's the Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yas. I'm Matt Hayes. He's Dr. Yas. There are three ways to get involved here. The text line brought to you by Lifetime Enclosures, 904-641-1010. The live stream on the 1010XL YouTube channel, and that's going to be a biggie today, everybody. That will be a biggie. Or by calling, of course, 904-641-1010. Give us your thoughts on the show. And, of course, you can always contact Dr. Yas at 904-906-YASS or visit his website at Living Without Pains. That's plural, livingwithoutpains.com, and schedule an appointment for his office or a Zoom session. That's right. The method can be performed either in person or on a Zoom call. And, boy, do we have a treat for you today. So you've heard Dr. Yas speak about his method and the 10 tenets for achieving pain-free living. We've analyzed the number one pain in all the world, sciatica. You've heard multiple passionate and emotional testimonies, and you'll hear another today. But now we're going to explain what makes Dr. Yas's method so unique, the exercises. We'll explain it step by step, and if you're watching on the live stream on the 1010XL YouTube channel, you can see the exercises being performed, the simplicity of them. Now listen, remember how last week we spoke about the frustrations of not being able to bend down and pick up your kids or grandkids without pain, or hitting a 9-iron without pain, or throwing a line in and reeling in a big redfish without pain? Well, now we're going to explain how easily that pain can be relieved with the Yas method. Doc, take it away.
Thanks, Matt. Happy Sunday morning to you and happy Father's Day to you personally. Before I get into the specifics of the method, I would like to just make one point about the idea of people calling in. I want people to think of this show as their show. This is a community show. Chronic pain is affecting more people than anything else that exists in the world. And you may be having pain, but you may not realize that your friend, your family member, or coworker are in the same situation. And this is a chance for us to all come together. If you're having a problem, it may be a similar problem that somebody else is having. And in having the chance to get it out there, we're not just helping the individual call in, we're helping others. So please don't hesitate to call in. It's real important as a community.
That's 904-641-1010.
Okay, great. So now we're going to go through the 10 tenets for achieving pain-free motion. This is the whole idea of this is explaining to you how you go from pain to pain-free in just weeks. Okay, so the first tenet is...
Gotta pull that board closer for the folks on the YouTube line there. There you go. There you go, Doc. If you're wondering what's going on right now and you're driving around listening, what Doc's doing right now is he's explaining on his whiteboard the 10 tenets for achieving a pain-free life.
Okay, so number one, pain is a tissue in distress, indicates a tissue in distress. This is very, very important for people to understand. That pain is coming from a tissue in distress. By interpreting the pain, you can identify what tissue is creating that pain. Number two, muscle deficits create pain. Of the 30 years I've been performing this method and treated thousands of people, I have found through this interpretation of symptoms that in more than 98% of cases, the cause of pain is muscular. Muscle is the cause of the pain.
That's key.
Very, very important to understand, because the real key there is that muscular causes don't show up on diagnostic tests. That's a real important point to make. Number three, there are 4 ways that muscle can create pain. The typical one that most people consider is that muscle can strain and elicit pain. Most people consider that. But the 3 that they don't consider is that muscle can cause misalignment of joint surfaces, and that can cause the joint surfaces to rub in a way that elicits pain at a joint. So, for instance, if you have pain around your kneecap, it might be that your front thigh muscle is too strong a relationship to the back thigh muscle, and it is shortened, pulling excessively on that kneecap. So the answer to resolving that pain will not be found at the knee, but in correcting that muscular deficit. 4, excess force causes strain. The primary overriding reason most people are having chronic pain is that you live in a gravitational environment, man. You're on this earth. And as a result of that, for everything you're trying to do, you are having to push against the force of gravity. All the muscles involved in creating a particular activity have to have an equivalent force output, have to push equally to that force requirement, or they're going to strain and elicit pain. So that's basically what you want to look at in terms of understanding what's causing your pain in 98% of cases. There's simply not enough force output in your muscles to push against the gravitational force of doing what you're trying to accomplish. 5, pain with activity equals muscular cause. So this, to me, is one of the most misunderstood concepts, and that is to say that everyone connects their pain to doing an activity. I get my pain when I walk, or I can't stand, or I can't kneel, I can't climb stairs, I can't reach. As soon as you've attached your pain to an activity, by definition, you have identified the cause as muscle. 6, muscular causes will create postural or functional deficits. So muscle isn't just responsible for what you're doing, it's also responsible for posture and movement. So let's say that, for instance, you're having pain in your upper trap region and you're having difficulty reaching. Well, that probably is going to present as that shoulder being higher than your other shoulder. This is critical because that's a corroborating indicator that the cause is muscular, and not only that, but helps me to understand which muscle is responsible for that symptom. So posture and altered function. Maybe you're limping, maybe you're doing things in a way that aren't the normal pattern. That helps to understand that the cause is muscular and which muscles are involved. 7, this is the home run ball right here, ladies and gentlemen. If you are one of those people, one of those 98%ers that have a muscular cause creating their symptoms, there's only one way you're going to resolve that deficit, and that is through targeted progressive resistance strength training, which is at the core of the Yas method. Matt will attest to the fact he resolved his Achilles tendon pain by doing maybe, what was it, 4 exercises with progressive resistance?
It's strengthening your muscles. That's how you relieve your pain.
Right.
You strengthen the muscle deficit that you have.
Right. And again, although like in a case like Matt's, because it was in the Achilles or because it was in a joint, you might not recognize it as muscular. But by getting that Yas method evaluation, that helps you to understand whether it's muscle and whether you can resolve your symptoms with a couple, 3 to 4 exercises, ladies and gentlemen, in just weeks. Matt, attest to the fact you were pain-free in 3 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks, and it was simply strengthening my glute med. Had nothing to do with my Achilles. Strengthening my left glute med. And everybody we've talked to in the last 2 weeks, you've heard these emotional testimonies. Same thing. Same thing. Masiak from Canada was sleeping on the floor, on a concrete floor for a year. For a year. And the Yas method saved him. Literally saved him.
And it was the same situation. I think he did 4 exercises. That's all it took. So, number 8. You control living pain-free. So, another critical thing to understand, if in fact the cause of your pain is muscular, and Matt has now gone a few months through this process of living without his pain, he now realizes that there's no medical practitioner that controls your ability to sustain your strength and sustain your functional capacity. Only you can do that. That's the empowerment feature of the Yas method. It gets you to the point where you recognize you have control of your pain. No more going to medical practitioners, spending extra money. You have control. You can stop the pain and prevent it from reoccurring.
With simple exercises that we will show today.
Again, number 9, I think one of the more important features of the Yas method is that you can become pain-free in weeks. I, over 30 years, have treated thousands of people who have been complaining about their symptoms for months, for years, 10, 20, 30 years. And upon recognizing that the cause was muscular, and it was muscular all the way back at day 1, and recognizing that they only had to perform these 3 to 4 exercises and performing them, they were better, pain-free, and fully functional in weeks. And that is an important, critical part of this. It's day 1 today. Why don't you just start today, get the diagnosis, see it's muscular, do the exercises, and in a couple of weeks, you will have your life back and do the things you love to do.
Stop saying it'll get better, because it won't. It won't.
Right. And one point about that, that's a great point. So if it is muscular as the cause, the important thing to see there is that you do have this force deficit. Those muscles don't have the strength to perform your activities. Well, unless you develop that strength, you're not going to get that strength. So it's not going to get better on its own.
And it will never get better, yes.
And that's why these symptoms run for years and decades. It's because there's a lack of recognition that the cause is muscular, and that, in fact, with the appropriate strength training, this could be ended.
And the more you compensate for one muscle that's not working, the greater the pain will be, the longer your pain will be.
Because in compensating, you're starting to make other muscles do what they're not designed to do, so they end up straining. So instead of having 1 or 2 muscles in deficit, now you're at 3 or 4, and this continues to progress. There really is no end to compensation. The body's always looking to make life easier for you, so very important point. And finally, number 10, the Yas method is derived from science and experience. Matt would express the fact that when he talks to me, sometimes I get a little overwhelming in my scientific explanation of things, and that is because I've incorporated at least 10 to 20 different forms of science into this understanding. Then I utilize that understanding in treating people over the last 30 years, 18,000 people, some outrageous number of people. So this is a tried and true method. You just have to take the shot, give it a chance, and see the results. The first results will be seen in the first session.
Well, I think you get excited because you have people calling you, like Jill last week, who said she couldn't pick up her child. And, you know, she was talking to us last week. She started crying. Masiak, 2 weeks ago, told us he was thinking about taking his own life. His pain had been so bad for 2 years. So that's why you get so excited about it, because you know it works and you know you can get people out of pain. All they got to do is take the step right now and make it happen.
Yeah, and one point to make. A couple of days ago, I just treated a guy in Australia by Zoom. The guy had some symptoms running down the side of his legs. He tried physiotherapy, which is the standard of care there. They were doing some types of treatments that were unrelated to the recognition that his pain was due to weakness of muscle and therefore required targeted strength training. We did the first session. He was literally sitting in pain when he introduced himself on the computer. By the end of that hour, he had no pain. And all he was going to do was get a video of that series of exercises, do them, and I am sure that when I see him again in 3 weeks, guy's going to be pain-free and have his life back.
Remember, that's an important point, too. When you call Dr. Yas at 904-906-YASS, or go online, visit his website, Living Without Pains, plural, livingwithoutpains.com, and schedule an appointment for his office, you can do the method with him either in the office or at your home via Zoom session. So it's very easy to get this done. It's a simple process, and as you'll see later in the show, they're simple exercises.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now I just want to try to we've talked about how you go from being in pain to pain-free. Okay, so when we come back, we're going to probably be talking to our testimonial people.
We are. So when we come back, listen, we're going to speak to a future Division I athlete whose football future was nearly sidelined because of back pain. It's a powerful story you don't want to miss. It's the Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yas on 1010XL.
Follow the rise of the young Jags and daily discussion about where they're headed.
We could be part of it.
Jaguars Today.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.
With Mike Dempsey, Fat Tony, and E.T. every weekday from 10 to noon on 1010XL.
You know, many plumbers won't quote prices over the phone and instead charge a service fee for an in-home estimate. Of course, because they know once they're in your home, you're probably not going to send them away. But Roland Reach Plumbing is different. Roland will give you a price quote over the phone. And there's never a trip charge or service fee for an estimate. So if you've got a leak and can't wait a week and don't like paying unnecessary fees, call on Roland Reach Plumbing at plumbingjacksonville.com.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound & Security is hiring salespeople right now. If you want to sell new tech security cameras or home automation, Tyson Sound & Security is looking for you. Tyson Sound & Security is hiring for sales positions, and they will train you to be successful. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. That's 762-1000. Hiring for sales positions right now. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. Equal opportunity employer.
Have lunch with a former Jacksonville Pro Bowler.
Join me, Leon Searcy, on XL Primetime, weekdays from noon to 1:30.
Lunch with Leon.
Here's to lunch, anyway.
Brought to you by the Sausage Dudes. Sausage with a purpose on 1010XL.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111. Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I said yes to Yas, Dr. Mitchell Yas, and the Yas method. Now, I know you've probably tried medications, treatments, injections, even surgery. Maybe the reason you're still in pain is because they're treating the wrong thing and not addressing the root causes. Well, I know from personal experience, this does happen. But I found the best-kept secret in pain elimination, Dr. Yas and the Yas method. Call him today, 904-906-YASS, and say yes to Yas.
Find your why in your next career move at the First Coast YMCA. Everyone can get involved and make a difference in your community at the Y. And if you'd like to turn your passion into a fulfilling career, the Y is an equal opportunity employer and is now hiring youth program leaders, lifeguards, swim instructors, and more. Plus, Y staff enjoy benefits including free YMCA membership and free childcare while you work. Find your passion, find your why in a career at fcymca.org.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control. Look, warmer weather now means mosquito, flea, and tick season is here. These pests are out for blood, but you don't have to let them win. Protect your home and family with Kingfish Pest Control. As a Kingfish customer myself, I know their products are safe for kids and pets. Plus, with a 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can relax knowing your yard is pest-free. Call today, mention the Jags to receive 10% off your initial service. That's Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jacksonville has some junk, and J-Dog is removing it. They're here to do the dirty work. You don't want to remove and dispose of large furniture or appliances yourself? Call J-Dog. Here now proudly serving you, removing junk from your home or business. They can even handle small demolition projects, and they're still donating local items to veterans in need. So let J-Dog do the dirty work for you. J-Dog Junk Removal, veteran-owned and operated. JDog.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
All right, we're back on the Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yass. Again, 3 ways to get involved. First, by the text line brought to you by Lifetime Enclosures, 904-641-1010. You can call that same number, 904-641-1010, and get involved. And you can watch us streaming live on the 1010 YouTube channel. And, of course, as always, contact Dr. Yass at 904-906-YASS. That's 904-906-YASS, or visit his website at livingwithoutpains, that's plural, livingwithoutpains.com, and schedule an appointment at his office or a Zoom session. All right, Doc, let's get into, while we're waiting for our Division I athlete to call, I think he was at a recruiting camp this weekend, so we're running a little bit late here. Let's get into the actual exercises and why there's so much simplicity to it that people need to understand that it's not as difficult. You're not talking about lifting 100 pounds here. This is simple stuff.
Right. So I'm going to go through some of the real specific things that help people understand what separates this, why it's so unique, and why people literally have a massive reduction in symptom and improvement in function in just the first session. So the first of these things is quite simply, you're typically only going to do 3 to 4 exercises. So there have been people who have gone for treatment and they're being told to do 10 exercises, 15 exercises. Well, I have found over 30 years that in the majority of cases, it's only 3 to 4 muscles that have broken down, not having the appropriate level of force to do the activity. So you're only going to be isolating those particular muscles that are responsible for the symptoms.
Real quick, Doc, and that's the difference between Dr. Yass and any other physical therapist. He is isolating the muscles that are in distress. He's not just randomly guessing what muscle it is. He knows what it is, and that's what you're working on.
This is not generic. That is a really important point to make. When I do the evaluation of you, I'm establishing what your muscular deficits are, and then ascribing the specific exercises that help you. The next person that comes in quite clearly could have a completely different set of exercises. So that's an important point to make. Number 2, muscles strengthened not where the pain is being experienced. This is a big thing. It kind of confuses people. So the average person, let's say, having pain in that upper trap region, that area between the neck and the shoulder, they're going to assume that their exercise is going to be performed there. Well, it's not. That muscle happens to be a shoulder blade stabilizing muscle. It keep the shoulder blade against the rib cage. And so there are other shoulder blade stabilizing muscles that may have broken down. That's where I'm going to do the strengthening. People are very surprised when I ask them to do something that has nothing to do with the area of their pain is, and they suddenly do the exercise and feel the improvement where they're experiencing the pain. This is another really, really big one. Each exercise, You move one joint in one direction. And this is the essence of what a muscle does. Every muscle moves one joint in one direction. So if I'm looking to isolate a muscle, if you're performing an exercise to strengthen that muscle, you better only be moving one joint in one direction. That's where the simplicity of the movement occurs. There's no ballet going on here, no balancing, no awkwardness to it. You're moving one joint in one direction. Number 3, you need to focus on stabilization as well as force development. A muscle pulls off a bone. Muscles pull off of bones. The more stable the bone is, by making other muscles work to stabilize that, the better force output of the muscle you're trying to strengthen. So you can't just focus on doing the exercise to strengthen the muscle and just haphazardly having the rest of the body be in a situation. It needs to be fully stabilized. Very unique to this method. Next, if pain is this is another big one that most people don't realize. If pain is on one side of the body, strengthen one side of the body. So if you have pain at your left hip region, don't be doing exercise on both legs, because that pain is a recognition of a tissue in distress. That muscle is weak on that side. Therefore, the brain has recognized the opposite side as the dominant side, and it's making you not weight bear on the side you're having symptoms on, which is leading to continued weakness. If you continue to strengthen both sides, you are sustaining the cause of your pain. That is very, very important to understand. You got pain on one side, you strengthen one side.
Because, Mitch, and this is very important, the body will try to fix you on its own. So
Absolutely.
when you like, if you have pain on one side, like you said, but if you do exercises on both sides, the side that's good, the side that the body's trying to get you to use more, that will then become stressed, correct?
Eventually,
Yeah.
absolutely. But in terms of, like, if you have your right side is weak and the left side is strong, you're always going to lean to your left.
Yeah.
So as a result, the right side muscles continue to stay weak. Even if you're strengthening them, if you're not using them in your activity, they will weaken. So it's sustaining this imbalance. You got to break imbalance. After muscle, every muscle, affected muscle, either strengthen or lengthen. So if a muscle, let's say your quad is shortened and that's what's eliciting pain, don't strengthen it because it's going to lead to further shortening. You need to lengthen it by strengthening the hamstring. If it's weak, then you do strengthen it and you don't strengthen the hamstring. So this idea of if you're going to strengthen your bicep, you strengthen your tricep. If you're going to strengthen your quad, you strengthen the hamstring. Again, feeding into the deficits that exist. So progressive resistance is the key. This is really the thrust of what makes my method my method. You've got to force deficit. You got to get that muscle to adapt to greater and greater resistances until it has a great enough force output that you can perform your activity. If you're not if you're not using any resistance with your exercise, that is catastrophic. But you have to eventually progress your resistance. Matt, tell everybody how you've progressed your resistance, how far you've gotten.
Well, first off, you're strengthening your muscle. So if you don't use resistance, or if you use a low weight, you're not doing anything. You're literally hurting yourself. So when I had my problem with my left glute med, we were doing hip abductions, and I was doing 20 or 30 pounds, and I'm up to 100 now.
Right.
So it's you. The more you strengthen, the better you will feel. The better you will cure yourself. And again, you are curing yourself. No one else is.
Absolutely. So next, another element related to that stability issue. Most exercises performed in a seated position. So if I want to strengthen your bicep or I want to strengthen your deltoid, the best position for you to be in is a seated position, thereby not using energy for standing and balancing yourself. So all the energy could go directly to the muscle that you're trying to strengthen. That's the key, is to make no other muscles be working so you can put all your energy towards the muscle you're trying to strengthen.
Real quick, Mitchell, I want to say one thing. I'm up at 90 pounds on the hip abduction because that's what I want to do. I didn't have to go that high. I probably could have stayed at 30 or 40. I mean, easily.
Absolutely. And I think it's great for Matt to kind of testify because he'll tell you his life has changed dramatically. His life existed around his Achilles tendon. He doesn't even consider it. It's not even a factor in his life.
No, not even close. I used to wake up and dread every morning getting up because it would take 20 minutes to work it out and figure out how to walk, and it's not even, I don't even think about it anymore. Not even close.
Okay, next. Resistance determined by individual. A lot of people, when they hear about strength training and progressive resistance, are concerned that I'm going to make them do a resistance that they're not capable of, and they're going to strain. Who determines what resistance you're going to use, Matt?
I do.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm looking at the quality of the movement, making sure the range is appropriate, making sure that it doesn't look like he's compensating or bringing in any other stabilizing. That's all that my part is. We, together, primarily through his feedback, determines what the proper resistance is. So there's no fear that you're going to strain or that you're going to be pushed beyond your capacity.
Right, or that you can't do it, because you could be at a point where your muscle deficit is so extreme, you just need some kind of stretch, some kind of resistance to start the process.
Right. Okay, strength development until force output is greater than force requirement. There is an end goal to this. People always say, am I going to do this forever? Well, all we're trying to do is get those appropriate muscles that are involved in this strong enough to where their force output is greater than the force requirement, which is to say you're living your life without symptom, doing the things you want. Once you're there, that's the end of it. If you choose to do more, that's your prerogative. But basically, all we're trying to do is get to the point where the force output of those muscles is greater than the force requirement of the activities. Real simple. This is the benefit of the method. Change in symptoms experienced in the first session. Matt, tell them what happened that first session.
I first time I walked in and I was completely over the left side of my body. I couldn't do anything, and walking was just, it was brutal. I laid down, I got massaged for 10 minutes, I stood up, and the pain went from like a 10 to a 3. And I looked at him and said, this is ridiculous, this can't be real. There's no way this can be real. Then I did the exercises, the pain went down to like a 2 or a 1. I couldn't believe it. I thought the next day I was going to wake up the next morning, it was going to hurt. No, just kept going back, and within 3 weeks, gone.
Absolutely. That
gone after a year, a full year of Achilles pain that was so bad at times it was debilitating. And it had nothing to do with my Achilles. It had everything to do with the fact that my glute med, which is the muscle running down the left side of my thigh, was weak. That was the muscle deficit.
It was a force deficit. It was a change in how you were weight bearing, which changed the way gravity ran through your body. And it created loads that shouldn't have had to be there to be picked up.
Right.
Yep. And that's what happened. You ended up picking up that load on the Achilles. That's why the pain was felt there. And that kind of just pointed to this idea. For most people, pain resolution and full return of function in weeks, man. In weeks. It literally goes that fast. So...
All right, so the best way to get to Dr. Yoss is 904-906-YASS. That's 904-906-YASS. You can also reach him at his website, Live Without Pains, plural, livewithoutpains.com. Schedule an appointment for his office, either in the office or a Zoom session. So the Yoss method can be performed either in person or on a Zoom call, and you've had people from all over the world on Zoom calls, correct?
Absolutely.
And there's no difference with a Zoom call or in person, right?
The only difference is the idea that I can't manually do some things in terms of the testing, but I'm so used to understanding the relationship of muscle to function and posture, and combined with the description of where the pain is and what the person's telling me, I'm usually very, very accurate in the ability to get the diagnosis and which particular muscles. In terms of doing the exercises, I'm demonstrating them and the person's performing them under my supervision. So that's basically the same as being in person. So the sessions are highly effective. As I just said, the guy in Australia, first session, he had pain sitting there, it was gone. So for now, since we haven't had Dylan call yet, if I can just briefly review his situation, and that way we can at least explain what happened.
Yeah.
So Dylan was this high school kid who's a high-level football player, and he basically, a couple of years ago, fractured his left ankle. Oh.
Okay, hang on. Let's real quick. We'll go to a call real quick, then we'll come back and do the do the Dylan story. All right, we got Kevin on the phone. Kevin, you're on with Dr. Yoss. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning and happy
Father's Day.
So I have a story that's very much related to what Dr. Yost is talking about. And a couple years ago, my shoulders got so tight I could barely lift my arms above my head. And, I mean, it was hard to get dressed. And so I went to my orthopedic surgeon who, you know, thought that I had some type of shoulder impingement. He gave me some cortisone shots. It did nothing. I then went to physical therapy. It really didn't do anything for my shoulders. I then went to a chiropractor. I went to an acupuncturist. I actually went to a herbalist who prescribed medicine that gave me diarrhea for 30 days.
Wow.
So finally, I went to a stretch therapist, and immediately she said that I'm all knotted up. My back, you know, she needed to release the muscles that were causing the impingement. And I've been going every week for the last 2 years, and I've got zero pain. So it's just amazing how some doctors want to try and treat it with all types of remedies, but really it's just a matter of, you know, stretching the muscles correctly.
So Kevin, you would acknowledge that your pain was worsened by the activity you were doing, correct?
Yes.
So that's kind of at the core of the Yost method, is the idea that if you could associate your symptom with dysfunction, by definition, the tissue creating both the pain and the dysfunction is muscle. And as we've talked about on the show, if you seek care through the use of the MRI as you described, muscular causes do not show up. And that's a biggie for people to understand. Everyone assumes that the cause of that pain will show up one way or another on that MRI, that MRI will automatically show the cause of their pain. And when it's muscle, it doesn't show up. What will show up is arthritis or a labral tear in the shoulder, and that's what's going to be treated, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And like I said, I think it's amazing to get rid of the pain by just doing these simple exercises or stretching, you know, to release the muscles that are causing the pain.
Absolutely.
And, well, thanks for thanks for today.
All right, Kevin. Happy Father's Day. And I think that's a great point too, Mitchell. Is I had 2 MRIs and they couldn't see anything. Couldn't see anything. Had a foot specialist look at it. Really couldn't see anything. You know, my doctor said, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I'm in pain. He said, yeah, I know you are, but there's really nothing here. You can see there's like a little tendiopathy, which is tendonitis.
Yeah.
But he said, you know, there's nothing here. So the MRI doesn't necessarily, and I think that's kind of the key point. You can have an MRI, you can have an X-ray, but that's not going to show the muscular deficit.
Correct. And the important point to understand about these images is that they are a picture in time. They may be showing structural variations, abnormalities that existed a year, 2 or 10 years ago. You don't know that, whereby symptoms are real time. They are coming from the tissue in distress. That is why the Yost method believes and follows the principle that symptoms are the best way to identify the tissue in distress, creating them.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're still waiting for Dylan to call, but we're going to go to a break real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll show you some exercises. And if we get Dylan, if Dylan can get away from his weekend camp at a Division I school, then we'll talk to him as well. But if not, we'll show you the exercises. We'll get into it. You'll see how simple it is. It's the Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yost. It's 1010XL.
Start your Sunday off with a cup of Joe and some sports medicine intel. This is Joe C. inviting you to join me and Dr. George Bari for Breaking Bones every Sunday morning at 7:30. And if you miss an episode, just look for Breaking Bones wherever you listen to podcasts.
O'Reilly. Did you know 1 in 4 car batteries is weak and needs to be replaced? O'Reilly Auto Parts will test your battery for free. If your battery needs to be replaced, our professional parts people can help you find the right Super Start battery for your vehicle and budget. Don't wait. Get your battery tested for free today at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. I want my Woody's barbecue
For classic Southern barbecue that's been smoking since 1980, head for the Woody's Barbecue near you. University Boulevard at Atlantic, Powers Avenue just off University, Ponte Vedra at Solano Road, and also in McClenny. Bring the kids and enjoy the low and slow cooking that Woody's is famous for.
This is Woody Mills inviting you to Woody's Barbecue today. Come see us.
At Woody's Barbecue, it's what we do. Let's eat.
Oh boy, not again.
Do you feel this way every time there's rain in the forecast? Amy Salt, owner of CrossFit Salt to Tear in the Riverside area, definitely did.
I had major rain anxiety from all the water collecting outside my gym. That's why I'm so happy I reached out to Clearwater Drainage. John came out, designed a system that moved the water off of my property, and all my kettlebells are now dry. I'm sleeping so much better at night.
Clearwater Irrigation.
And drainage, too.
ClearwaterJacks.com. There's a new butcher in town. We're talking a vacuum marinating, sausage grinding, take and bake siding, value pricing, full service butcher. And our name is Southern Steer.
Now open in Ortega. For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
Play on the edge. Stand on the edge. The Amateur's Edge. Get the Amateur's Edge. Powered by B3 Better. To learn the hidden path of top pros, amateurs, and coaches. Saturday mornings at 11 on 1010XL.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. What's better than beer? Cold beer. Put your company logo on a custom koozie. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
It's a unique gift idea and a popular way to add fun and personality to any wedding environment. Mystic Cornhole Company builds custom, high-quality boards right here in Jax. Visit the shop on Phillips Highway or check out their designs at mysticcornhole.com.
Buying or selling surfboards, guitars, amps, or musical instruments or equipment? Beaches Jewelry and Pawn wants to either buy them from you or sell you what you need. Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach. Online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
I'm Dr. Mitchell Yass, the most unknown world-renowned expert on pain elimination. That's right, elimination. If you've tried medications, injections, physical therapy, chiropractic, even surgery, and still experience pain, then say yes to Yass. I have successfully used the Yass method for over 30 years to help thousands reclaim their lives. To learn more, call me at 904-906-YASS. Let's end your pain and say yes to Yass.
Attention golfers, Hidden Hills Golf Club has become an attractive destination for golfers all over North Florida. You too will enjoy our classic Arnold Palmer design that'll test your game and keep you coming back. Book a tee time today at hiddenhillsgc.com.
Saturday, June 24th, the UFC returns to Jacksonville. The heavy-handed Josh Emmett looks to turn back undefeated phenom Ilia Topuria, plus dangerous Brazilian Amanda Ribas takes on the future Macy Barber. Don't miss UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Topuria, live from ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
E.T. here, and y'all know how much I like my brown water, but I ain't gonna lie, it gives me headaches sometimes. So my alternative is Brackish Vodka. This gluten-free alternative to Tito's is 100% local, and all monies stays right here in Duval. Not only does Brackish Vodka make you feel good, but when you support Brackish Vodka, you're also helping local charities. Try it side by side with your favorite vodka, and you will taste and smell how natural Brackish Vodka really is. And when you do, remember who sent you. Come on, somebody.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
All right, it's the Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yass. Happy Father's Day, everyone. If you're a dad out there and you're pulling out the grill and you picked up that heavy bag of charcoal, for your back, guess what? There's an answer, folks. There's an answer. It's the method. It's the Yass method, and now you're going to find out exactly what it looks like. If you're watching on the 1010XL YouTube channel, we're going to show you exactly what these are like. If not, if you're listening, we'll explain it to you. It's very easy. You can get involved, actually, just like Kevin did last segment, 904-641-1010. And, of course, you can always contact Dr. Yas, 904-906-YASS, or visit his website, livingwithoutpains.com. Schedule an appointment for his office or a Zoom session. Doc, let's get into the simplicity of these exercises and show everyone on the live stream how easy it is and explain to everyone listening how easy it is.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to do an upper body exercise, and I'm going to have Matt demonstrate the lower body exercise. So the exercise I'm going to do is called lower trap exercise, and it strengthens the lower trapezius muscle, the most important muscle involved in creating shoulder stability, neck stability, and prevents pain in the upper back, neck, and limiting headaches. So all you're going to do is you're going to be sitting in a chair. You're going to just lean all the way forward in the chair so that your butt's at the front of it, leaning back. Then you're going to put your arm out to a 45-degree angle out to its side. You're going to have your elbow straight. Your hand is pointing in. The dumbbell that I happen to be using is a 5-pound dumbbell. It's at eye level. And all I'm doing is starting to raise my arm towards the back of my ear till the upper arm is in line with my cheek. And then I come down. Listen to all those details, how accurate this is, and yet simplistic. One joint moving in one direction. So eye level for the dumbbell to upper arm in line with the cheek. Eye level of the dumbbell, upper arm of the cheek. You can see that's one line and that's one joint moving in one direction. That is how you strengthen the lower trapezius muscle, most important muscle in the upper quadrant. Very few people know how important that is or how to isolate and strengthen it.
So we were talking about the shoulder a couple of weeks ago, not on the show, but in your office, and someone had come to you about what they thought was like a torn labrum, but it was really the back part, like on your back, the muscle there on, I guess it's your scapula, is that right?
Correct, shoulder blade.
Yeah. So explain that to everybody.
So real quickly, the shoulder, for most people don't realize, is actually the upper arm bone going into the end of the shoulder blade. So if we look at the muscles that pull the arm or move the shoulder, they're actually attached to the shoulder blade. Those muscles are only as effective as the muscles are that stabilize the shoulder blade to the rib cage. This guy had a deficit in that area. So it was his upper back where his deficit was, creating pain in the shoulder joint. So that, again, is that concept that I talk about. 99.99% of cases, the cause of pain is not where it's being experienced. And that usually confounds and surprises people when they come to me. So we did these exercises in his upper back, and sure enough, by the end of that session, he did not have that pain, and he was able to move his shoulder perfectly. No symptom.
And typically, you'll feel like a knot there in that muscle, right? You can tell it's in distress.
Correct. So when I actually evaluate and establish the muscle, the first thing I usually do is some form of massage, which is breaking up knots, which is the byproduct of the strain. And by breaking up the knot, it allows the muscle to be able to create more force and adapt to the exercises that we're doing. So it does allow for a quicker response in terms of the exercises you're performing. Absolutely.
And it's also a quicker lessening of pain. Now, explain what the knot is, because I didn't know what the knot was, and it's like a buildup of acid, right?
So what happens is there's fluid in the muscle that acts as a lubricant. And when the brain recognizes that the force output of the muscle is inadequate, it's going to convert it to Elmer's glue that binds the fiber together. Muscle fiber has pain receptors running along them, so when you concentrate that muscle fiber, you're concentrating pain receptors. That's when you press on. That's why when you press on a knot, it's so painful. After I release it, the muscle goes to a more optimal length, thereby deconcentrating the pain receptors, which is why exactly what you said. Instantly after the massage, that pain is either resolved or close to fully resolved.
And that's the key with Dr. Yas, is he recognizes the muscle in distress, and he can get to that massage point. Like my glute med, we're going to show you the exercise for my glute med, what I was doing. When I laid down on that table, and he said, first thing he said was, well, you got a knot here now. And he explained what he just explained to you, he explained to me. And he started massaging it, and I almost hit him. It hurt so bad. So it's clear he recognizes the pain, does something about it. 5 minutes after the massage, I got up, and I thought it was like a joke. I said, there's no way it can be this good. There's no way I've been walking around for a year, and now all of a sudden my pain's down to a 3 or a 4.
And that is usually the response people get in that first session. They think I've done some sort of magic or that I've somehow put them into a trance to feel this level of resolution, but it's not. It's literally straight science with an understanding of what muscle is, what happens when it strains, and how to strengthen it back to full function.
And you told me you had a client who literally couldn't stand up, was bending over, and got the massage, and immediately was standing up straight and walking, and eventually with the exercises.
Absolutely. So this guy had such severe pain that if he took 3 or 4 steps, the pain in his butt was so severe he could no longer weight bear. So he literally doubled over and had to put his hands on his knees to support himself. Within, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks, he's now pain-free. He doesn't do that anymore. And I recently had a chance to speak with him. He's not only just mowing the front lawn, he's mowing the front lawn, the back lawn. He's doing all the edging, and his wife actually wants to come by and thank me for giving her husband back.
You know what else? I bet he's lifting that big 50-pound bag of charcoal. No problem.
You know it, man. He's having a wonderful barbecue today for sure.
All right, so let's show everybody. Excuse me, Mitch. Let's show everyone the glute med exercise and how simple that is. Let me get this camera so we can see it better.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to perform hip abduction. And so Matt is going to be putting his foot in a loop that we created. Usually the loop is in a door, between a door and a frame, so it locks it in and secures it. He's got his feet in, and you start with the foot that's moving. You're going to turn your foot to, in this case, his right foot, so it's going to be 11 o'clock, and his feet are starting together. Then he's going to move his right foot out about 3 to 4 inches and put it on the floor. And the key to this is that he wants to make sure he puts it over there without pushing with the foot he's standing on. That's the compensation. If that right glute med is weak when he's doing this, the left leg is simply going to compensate. It's going to push over, and he's not going to get the benefit of the exercise. That's where the accuracy of the exercise comes in. So he puts his foot down on the floor about 3 to 4 inches over. Then he takes his pelvis and shifts over. So now he's fully weight bearing. He's unloaded his left leg because the right glute med, if that is the cause of his pain, that is not used to supporting his body weight. So we needed to get used to that. That's why he shifts the pelvis over and fully supports himself on there. And then he goes back to the start position. So it's kind of a count of 4. It's out, down, shift, back. Now, we're doing this in the studio, so we don't have the appropriate tools, but basically, Matt would be holding on to a chair in front of him so that half his body weight is being supported by his hands and half is supported by his left foot. Because of what I talked about, we need maximal stability of the body to allow that glute med to contract. And so the best way to do that is to break up the weight of his body into his hands and his foot. These are all the little nuances that allow the result of that exercise to be so overwhelming in just a session or 2 sessions. And that, again, is what makes the Yas method so unique. It's this understanding of how to do these exercises in an exact range of motion with the proper resistance, proper stabilization to get these muscles to respond in the shortest period of time.
And, Mitchell, I don't think this can be understated either. It's not only the exercises of the method, it's the doctor who's isolating the muscles. This is not only your muscle in distress, which, believe me, if you've had pain anywhere and you've gone to, I don't know, physical therapy, if you've gone to a doctor and you say, it hurts, you very easily could be told it's this when it's really that. So what you're getting with Dr. Yas is a guy who knows what muscle it is, and then, as important, knows how to get there and how to fix it and how to make it better. And the best part of all, it's on you. You do it. It's on you. It's not him. He's just giving you the tools to do it. That's all. He's giving you the tools to make your life better. That's what I tell everybody when I talk about it.
I think one of the biggest differentials is the fact that when you go to other practitioners, if your pain is in one location, they're looking for the cause in that location. That's why the diagnostic test is performed there. They're giving you treatment in that area. I need you to fully appreciate that in more than 99% of cases, the cause of pain is not where it's being experienced. If he had pain at his Achilles, it turned out on the right side, it was his left glute med. I have done this in cases where it's the plantar fascia causing pain and it's the left hip. I have done it where the lower back is in pain, and on the opposite side, it's a different muscle. So you need someone who sees the body as a whole and sees the symptom in relationship to dysfunction. That is what makes the Yas method what it is.
All right, we're going to get to Dylan Higginbotham next week. I promise you will, because he's a Division I athlete. He's a guy who's being recruited by a bunch of big college football schools, plays football at Camden County High School. We will get him to come on because we wanted to give you like a variety of people. We gave you Masick, who's a 20-year-old in Canada, just a guy who's literally been in pain almost all of his life. We gave you Jill last week, right? The instructor in Amelia Island. And Jill, who's a young mother, couldn't pick up her child and was distraught by it. Now Dylan is in a situation where his back hurt because of his ankle, his broken ankle. He had to, again, shift weight. The body was compensating. The back started hurting. Then suddenly he was told, you've got a disc problem, when it really wasn't that. It was what, Mitchell?
The inability to weight bear evenly, 50-50 on both feet. It was that simple. Plus, he ended up having a forward center of mass. Change in posture. Real simple.
And he was told, because in Georgia, you have to be, it's probably the same way in Florida, you have to be cleared by a doctor before you can play. So if you're out there in the first coach, you're a football coach, you're a coach of any high school team, and you've got a doctor telling you, well, he can't do this because X, Y, and Z, give Mitchell Yass a call at 904-906-YASS, and Mitchell can explain to you that, you know what you've heard may not be the truth, and in reality, it may be a lot easier than you think.
Absolutely. Live your life, live pain-free. Have a great Father's Day to all of you guys out there.
All right, we'll be back next week on the Pain Free Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yass. I'm Matt Hayes. He's Mitchell Yass. We'll see you next week.
Jeff Lageman, Kevin Faber, and Kirk Waltz bring you into the outdoors.